Good evening, everyone, and welcome to the reprise of Father Roger's Fireside Christmas Story Tales. It's so good to be back with you. We did this several years ago during COVID. And tonight, as part of our series on A Cozy Christmas, I'm going to read you a story about Saint Nicholas, the legend of Saint Nicholas. It's a story of Christmas giving. When I was a child growing up, my parents celebrated the Scandinavian tradition of putting our shoes out the night before December 6th, which is St. Nicholas Day. And we put the shoes outside my room and my brother's room, and in the morning we would find, a small present or a small gift in the shoe if we were good, if we had been good, or coal if we had been bad. It's a Scandinavian tradition, and it's a tradition of Northern Europe as well, to celebrate St. Nicholas Day in that way. But have you ever wondered, who is St. Nicholas, and why is St. Nicholas often associated with Santa Claus? Well, tonight we're going to read the story of the legend of St. Nicholas. So get cozy, start a fire, get some eggnog, and get ready for a wonderful fireside tale about St. Nicholas. Nick followed his dad through the snow-dusted parking lot. "Not my idea of fun," he muttered. "Hey, you're the one who waited until the last minute to buy Christmas gifts for your little brothers," Dad reminded him. "True," Nick admitted. "Why was it so much easier to think about getting gifts than giving them?" See, there's Nick and his dad outside the store. He's not having a good time, and he's wondering why he can't be more generous. Nick spotted a skinny Santa ringing a bell and collecting for the poor. Dad handed Nick $1 for Santa's kettle. Nick thought about adding something from his own wallet, but he was hoping to have enough left to get himself a CD, if you remember those. And here's Santa Claus and Nick. So Nick is really struggling here. He wants to be generous, but he also wants something for himself. Once inside the crowded store, Nick smelled hot dogs and popcorn. Scratchy Christmas music blared overhead. He dodged a shopping cart. "You get your gifts and I'll see to this list your mother gave me," Dad called, disappearing into the sea of shoppers. Nick headed for the toy aisle, but a rack of CDs caught his eye. A few minutes later, he heard a deep voice saying his name. There's Nick, with his father in the shopping mall, in the store, and they're about to go their separate ways. But Nick heard a deep voice off into the distance, in the distance. He wondered what it was. The voice belonged to a store Santa. "Santa used to go by the name Nick, or Saint Nicholas," he heard the Santa say to a group of children in the elf room. Nick remembered waiting for his parents in that room when he was a little kid. "A long, long time ago," the store Santa continued, "in a country far across the sea, a boy named Nicholas was born." Nick leaned against the doorway and listened. See? And there's Santa Claus telling the story of St. Nicholas. And there's Nicholas listening in. Let's listen to the story of St. Nicholas. We'll do a little eavesdropping ourselves, shall we? The story begins this way. Nicholas's parents were very rich. They traveled all over the world with their son. When Nicholas was 8, they visited beautiful gardens in the Far East. Nicholas noticed children begging for food. When he turned 10, his parents took him to the West. Nicholas couldn't sleep at night because he kept thinking about the longing eyes of the children in the streets, children who had certainly never owned a toy. So there's Nick and his parents in the East. And Nick is concerned for the children there because they were begging for food. On his 12th birthday, Nicholas and his family journeyed to the north. Nicholas waved to the children playing in the snow. "Why aren't they wearing coats and hats?" Nicholas asked his father and mother. His parents exchanged sad looks. "They probably don't own coats and hats, Nicholas," his father said. That is sad indeed, isn't it? They must have been very cold, but they look happy. A few years later, they visited the Holy Land, where baby Jesus had been born that first Christmas. "In this holy place, God gave us the greatest gift ever given," Nicholas's father remarked. "Imagine how much God loves us to give us his only son. 3 wise kings brought gifts for the Christ child to honor and celebrate this amazing gift," Nicholas's mother said as the church bells rang out. So here's Nick, and he's much older now, and they're in the Holy Land where Jesus was born. Let's find out what happens next, shall we? Not long after they returned home, Nicholas's parents died. Nicholas felt lost and alone. He had plenty of money, but no idea what to do with his life. He looked to his friends for help. "Well, if I had that much money," said Joseph, "I'd pay all our bills because my father is out of work." "I would buy my mother a warm coat," Thomas added. Phoebe gazed at the stars. "My 2 sisters want to marry, but we don't have the money that's required from the bride's family. If I had the money, I would give it to my sisters for this dowry." She sighed. "And if I had enough, I would do the same for myself." Nicholas knew that his friends would never get their wish unless that night, Nicholas talked things over with God. "Father, could this be the work you have for me?" As if in answer, the church bells rang at that very moment. Nicholas remembered what his mother had said about the wise kings bringing gifts to baby Jesus. He thought of what his father said about Jesus being the greatest gift. What better time to give gifts than on Jesus' birthday? Here's Nicholas in his room praying for wisdom about what to do. And look, that must be his coat. Let's see what he's going to do with that. Nicholas could barely hold in his excitement. First, he tromped through falling snow to Joseph's house. He opened a window and tossed in enough gold coins to allow them to buy their own home. Look, there he is in his warm red fur jacket, tossing in the coins to help his friend. Next, he woke the town tailor and bought his finest coat. And Nicholas ran all the way to Thomas's house and stuffed the coat through the open shutters. Nicholas's last stop was Phoebe's house. He tied coins into 3 bags for 3 dowries and searched for an open window. There wasn't one. Nicholas was about to give up when he looked to heaven and prayed for God's guidance. That's when he thought of the chimney. There's Nicholas on the roof, about to lower the bag of coins for the 3 dowries down through the chimney. On Christmas Day, Nicholas's friends came running to his house. "It's a miracle!" Joseph exclaimed. "God must have heard my prayers." "We were given a gift as well," Thomas began. "My mother hasn't taken off her new coat since she found it this morning." Phoebe's eyes sparkled like sunlight on snow. "My sisters will marry next month." She smiled at Joseph. "Now I too can marry. We don't know who else to thank, so we thank God." See, there's Nicholas and his 3 friends, Joseph, Thomas, and Phoebe, who are so happy at the gifts they were given. Overcome with joy, Nicholas understood his mission in life. This is how he would celebrate Christmas from now on. When the story ended, Nick shook himself. A part of him was back with Nicholas. He could imagine how good it must have felt to secretly give his friends what they had wanted most. Nick had almost forgotten why people gave presents at Christmas. He wanted to feel that same joy of giving. "Nick, time to go." Dad walked up, his arms full of shopping bags. "We can't go yet, Dad." There's Nicholas and his dad in the background there. Nick's father wants to go, but Nick says, "Can't go yet, Dad." Let's find out why. Nick never imagined buying gifts could be so much fun. He found just the right toys for his brothers. Then he spent everything he had left on toys for the poor. "I wish I had enough to fill the whole collection box," he told Dad. Nick felt sure he'd never look at Christmas the same way. He wanted to remember the gifts of St. Nicholas, the gifts of the wise kings, and most of all, God's gift of baby Jesus. There's Nicholas and his father. You can see the joy he has in discovering how good it is to give. There are many legends and traditions connected to our modern Santa Claus. According to tradition, about 300 years after Christ, a man named Nicholas lived in a seaport town in Myra, in the region we now call Turkey. He is believed to have become the bishop of Myra and was later called Saint Nicholas. Nicholas was known as a friend to the poor and helpless. And every Christmas, he would secretly deliver gifts to those who didn't have much. And that's the legend of Saint Nicholas.